From ancient times, humanity has been tirelessly seeking answers to fundamental questions about its existence, about who we really are and how to achieve a full, authentic life. Carl Jung, one of the greatest researchers of the unconscious, left us a profound truth that still resonates with incredible power. Inside each person exists a forgotten aspect, a part of their being stuck in childhood, which quietly but steadily influences all our decisions, emotions, and relationships. Many people live their days completely unaware that their inner child is still there, patiently waiting to be acknowledged, heard, and healed. Jung taught us that our psyche consists of multiple facets, and one of the most powerful and influential is the child part that we carry within. When this inner child was wounded, when it experienced rejection, abandonment, or deep emotional pain, this wound turns into a shadow that subtly but significantly affects our entire adult life. Unaware of this process, we repeatedly engage in destructive behavioral patterns, react disproportionately strongly in certain situations, and feel an inexplicable inner emptiness that nothing in the material world seems to fill. Imagine for a moment that you become that child again. Remember in detail what you were like when you were not afraid to freely express your emotions, when you unconditionally trusted the world and sincerely believed in the magic of life. At what specific moment did you stop being like that? What did you first feel the need to hide, defend yourself, or be someone else to deserve the acceptance of those around you? Jung convincingly shows us that these deep experiences never disappear, but are unreliably stored in the unconscious, constantly influencing every choice and decision we make. This inner child does not remain static in the past. It actively manifests itself in every relationship you have today. You may have already noticed that, despite all conscious efforts to change, you continue to attract partners who make you feel insecure, do not appreciate your qualities, or leave you with a painful feeling that you're never good enough. In a professional environment, these patterns can be particularly vivid. You may find it extremely difficult to set healthy boundaries. You may feel a constant need to make excessive efforts to gain recognition, or even constructive criticism can hurt you much more than it should. All these emotional reactions stem from a deeper core, from the unhealed wounds of your inner child. Jung made a revolutionary discovery. The only way to truly free yourself from these limiting patterns is to courageously confront them face to face. Instead of continuing to ignore or suppress your inner child's pain, we need to create a safe space where he can freely speak, express himself, and gradually heal. When we dare to take this step, a truly amazing transformation occurs. We begin to see the world in a completely different way. Our relationships change qualitatively, and life ceases to be perceived as a constant, exhausting struggle. So how do you practically approach the healing of your inner child? The key lies in deep introspection and sincere reconciliation with your own history. The first and most important step is to fully acknowledge its presence in your psyche. Every time you experience irrational fear, deep insecurity, or unexplained sadness, instead of habitually ignoring these feelings, ask yourself important questions. Which part of me is feeling this way right now? Where does this feeling really come from? Often the answer will lead you to early childhood memories, to significant moments when you first felt not good enough or realized that you needed to be someone else to earn love. Jung particularly emphasized the power of symbols and a unique language of the unconscious. Our inner child often manifests itself through vivid dreams, bodily sensations, or recurring life situations. If you pay attention to these manifestations, you will notice certain patterns that persistently repeat in your life, as if it is trying to convey an important message to you that you are not yet ready or willing to hear. It is important to understand that healing the inner child is not a quick process, but a deep, daily commitment to yourself. It means giving yourself permission to feel everything that you once had to suppress, learning to treat yourself with unconditional love and tenderness, talking to yourself with the same gentleness and understanding as you would talk to a frightened little child. It also means allowing yourself to rediscover the joy of play, to laugh without fear of judgment, and to reconnect with the purest, most authentic part of your being. The process of healing means allowing the inner child to feel what he could not express at the time. Often a simple act of writing a letter to this child, talking to him out loud, visualizing and uttering the words he always needed to hear can be a turning point. It is a symbolic act, but Jung taught us that the unconscious works through symbols. And when we give closure to these past moments, we release the energy that was trapped in them. By healing the inner child, we also transform our feminine energy, because the true essence of the feminine principle is not fragility or submission, but the ability to receive, connect with intuition, and create from the heart. When our inner child is wounded, this energy is blocked, and we become rigid, distrustful, disconnected from our intuition. But when we heal, when we learn to nurture ourselves instead of waiting for someone else to do it, we restore this connection to our true essence. This does not mean that we will never feel fear or insecurity again. The healing process is continuous, a path of self-discovery and transformation. But the difference is that instead of allowing our wounds to control our lives, we learn to consciously manage them. Instead of reacting from pain, we act from wisdom. Instead of seeking external validation, we give it to ourselves. These changes affect not only our relationship with ourselves, but also everything around us. When we heal our inner child, we change the way we interact with others. We stop settling for crumbs, stop tolerating relationships that drain us. We become more selective, not out of fear, but out of self-love. Because when we know our worth, when we learn to give ourselves what we need, we stop desperately looking for someone else to do it for us. Jung said that the goal of life is individuation, that is, becoming the person we truly are without masks or conventions. But this process is only possible when we dare to look inside, when we stop running away from ourselves. And healing the inner child is one of the most important steps on this path. This process may awaken emotions that you buried long ago. At first, you may feel resistance. A part of you may want to continue ignoring the past. But remember, every emerging emotion is an opportunity for healing. Instead of running away from it, feel it, observe it, give it space, and gradually you will see your inner child beginning to trust you again. The external world is a reflection of our internal world. If we want to transform our lives, if we want to live with more love, peace, and authenticity, we must first do this work within ourselves. And the good news is that it is never too late to start. Your inner child is still there waiting for you. And when you finally give him the love he always needed, you will realize that everything you have been searching for outside has always been inside you. Jung talked about how the psyche creates defense mechanisms to avoid pain, and one of the most common is distraction. Often, when we are ready to face our emotions, we find ways to avoid them, immerse ourselves in work, engage in conflictual relationships, constant distractions. But the truth is that pain does not disappear by ignoring it. It remains in the body, mind, and soul, waiting for us to acknowledge it. One of the most obvious signs of a wounded inner child is a feeling of emptiness, a sense that something is missing, that no matter what you do, there is always a void inside. Many try to fill this void with relationships, achievements, external validation. But Jung taught us that emptiness is not something to be filled from the outside. It is a call from the unconscious, a sign that there are parts of you that have been forgotten and need to be reintegrated. As you begin to heal, you start to notice how your emotions change. At first, you may feel sadness, nostalgia, even anger. These emotions are not negative. They show what has been suppressed. Instead of rejecting them, allow yourself to feel them. Write about them, meditate on them, express them in some way. Each time you do this, you release the energy that was trapped in the past. Another key aspect of this process is learning to distinguish between the voice of your inner child and the voice of your ego. Jung spoke of the ego as a part of the psyche that tries to protect us, but often keeps us in limiting patterns. The voice of the ego is usually critical, perfectionistic, full of fear. It tells us that we are not good enough, that we cannot trust others, that we need to keep defending ourselves. But the voice of the inner child is different. It is purer, more emotional, more sincere. It is the voice that says it wants love, wants to be seen, wants to be heard. Few experience this freedom. When you heal your inner child, when you give him the love he always needed, you discover something amazing. You have always been enough, always worthy of love, and inside you have always had everything you need for a full and authentic life. As you begin to experience this inner transformation, you notice how your relationships with the world subtly but powerfully change. What used to trigger anger or pain no longer has the same power over you. Not because external situations have changed, but because your internal perception has evolved. Jung taught that the external world is only a reflection of our internal world. If you used to feel the constant need to defend yourself, thought that no one understood you, or that you were invisible, it probably stemmed from the unresolved wound of your inner child. But as you heal, as you acknowledge your inner worth, you stop seeking external validation. This does not mean that there will be no challenges. Healing is not a destination, but a continuous journey. There will be days when you feel significant progress, and others when you feel like you are back to square one. But every step matters. Every time you choose to treat yourself with compassion instead of criticism, every time you choose to listen to yourself instead of ignoring, you build healthier relationships with yourself. From childhood, many women learn that their worth depends on how others perceive them, on whether they are good enough, loved, or meet certain expectations. But all of this is an illusion. True self-esteem does not come from external approval, but from the ability to validate yourself. And when you achieve this, something amazing happens. You become magnetic not because you seek attention from others, but because the energy you emit changes. Jung spoke of integrating shadows as a key step to personal growth. The shadow is not something negative, but simply those parts of you that you did not want to see. Perhaps in the past, you were taught to suppress your voice, minimize your feelings, believe that expressing your needs is selfish. But integrating the shadow means reclaiming these lost parts. It means giving yourself permission to be yourself without fear of judgment. This process also affects how you set boundaries. Many women with a wounded inner child feel they must please others to be loved. You may have noticed how you say yes when you want to say no, catering to others' wishes only to avoid conflicts. But as you begin to heal, you understand that setting boundaries is not an act of selfishness, but an act of self-love. Healing does not mean you will never feel pain or fear again. It means that when these feelings arise, you will know how to deal with them without allowing them to control your life. It means that when faced with a challenge, instead of reacting from a place of wounds, you will act from a place of awareness, and that is true freedom. This transformation process affects not only your emotional world, but also your physical one. When your mind and soul are in harmony, your body responds positively. Often, chronic illnesses, anxiety, or extreme fatigue are linked to unresolved emotional wounds. Jung said that what we do not face consciously manifests as fate, and this applies to both our emotional life and our health. As you progress in this process, you begin to notice that what once seemed impossible now feels natural. Where there was once fear, there is now confidence. Where there were doubts, there is now certainty. Not because life has become easier, but because your way of interacting with it has changed. As your inner child heals, the adult woman is reborn. And this rebirth is not just an internal change, but a complete transformation of how you see yourself and the world. Instead of feeling the need to be saved, you understand that only you can save yourself. Instead of seeking love from the outside, you realize that the most important love is the one you give yourself. The power of healing the inner child not only transforms your life, but also influences everyone around you. As a woman heals, her energy, presence, and way of loving change. This transformation does not go unnoticed. It becomes an inspiration to others, a beacon of light showing that it is possible to live from authenticity, wholeness, and self-love. This journey belongs to you, and only you can decide when to take the first step. But when you do, You will never be the same because once you heal, once you see your true worth, it is impossible to go back. Your moment is now. Your chance to reclaim all that has always been yours. Carl Jung said that when you reconcile with all parts of yourself, you become a complete being. And this is the greatest gift of this process, to reclaim your authenticity, your power, your ability to live from love, not fear. Healing your inner child is just the beginning of a deeper path where you stop being a captive of circumstances and start creating your own reality. This path does not have to be walked alone. There are many people in the world who, like you, are in the process of transformation. Together, we can help this message reach more people, helping more women awaken to their true power. Remember, inside you already have everything you need for healing, transformation, and living from your true essence. Change begins now. Change begins with you.